Friday, Donald Trump posted, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings." Would an untalented man be able to compose the following satirical witticism? Go ahead and say it. Cancel culture has gone too far. It sunk in that they're killing off our show. But they made one mistake. They left me alive. And now for the next 10 months,
It began as any other night would. Trump tweeting in a bathrobe while Colbert is dressed in a suit. However, the jokes then become. Stephen's grin became smugger, sharper, and he abruptly became savage. We're talking about 10 minutes of savage humor that likely made Trump's hairspray curl. Colbert is delivering sarcastic truth laced with sparkly contempt, without any cards or cold. Trump brought a crayon to a Shakespearean argument, even though he desired a verbal duel. Theirs.
No one even cares about the guy.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life.
A certain kind of magic occurs when a man who calls himself a millionaire gets taken over by a man who earns a career by making jokes about America's insomnia at night. You can be sure that Trump's ego will be crushed more thoroughly than a MAGA hat in a steamroller factory when that man is Stephen Colbert. A late-night comedian giving a president his own spray tan behind on a silver platter is the epitome of poetic justice.
On Saturday, Trump surprised the world, announcing that the U.S. launched strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. Now, were we facing an imminent threat? I don't know. On one hand, Iran's slogan isn't "Life to America." But it's hard to trust Donald Trump to be the one making these kinds of decisions. It kind of feels like we're all in the back seat while the Uber driver goes on a road rage.
It's like a raccoon challenging a flamethrower to a staring contest when Donald Trump tries to start a fight with Colbert. Colbert, who has that trademark smile that shouts, "I read books and I know what verbs are," didn't simply strike back. He hosted a comic haymaker at Mar-a-Lagona's all-you-can-eat buffet of delusions that was so fiery it might have been served with a side of Tums.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my mustache comes to you with a heavy heart because while I was on vacation, my parent corporation, Paramount, paid Donald Trump a $16 million settlement over his 60 Minutes lawsuit. As someone who has always been a proud employee of this network, I am offended, and I don't know if anything will ever repair my trust.
It seems that Trump, whose definition of intellectual rigor consists of shouting false information at microwave beeps, was unaware that Colbert had been using irony as a weapon since before Melania learned to blink at the instruction. Trump ended up doing what he does best, humiliating himself on a national level, when he stumbled into the arena, believing he would clown a man whose entire job it is to professionally clown clowns.
All this heat may be affecting the president because, and I want to be... Sir, I want to be sensitive about this. His skin seems to be falling off. Trump was speaking on the White House lawn earlier this week, and see if you can pinpoint the moment the cameraman got a little distracted.
At the end of 50 days, if we don't have a deal, it's going to be too bad.
Well, get more aggressive.
Yeah, the tariffs are going to go on, and other sanctions go on.
Holy Sephora sample counter!
To be honest, Trump's criticism on Colbert is like to a turkey accusing Gordon Ramsay of being unsavory. One of them is Michelin-starred, while the other is simply packed full of bullshit. And the only things Trump has managed to destroy are perhaps his own hair follicles and the foundation of American democracy.
A certain showmanship, which is surprising because we heard it had tanks and stuff, but in reality, this is what you got. The White House claims that 250,000 people attended, so now apparently 250,000 people looks like this. They must be really good at hiding.
Thus, Colbert appeared on stage, most likely in a let it rip in a well-tailored suit that didn't appear to have been taken from a Men's Warehouse fire sale in the 1990s. He didn't simply return the clap. He wrote a symphony of shade and performed it with the grace of someone who has read the Constitution without attempting to eat it. Trump is out here complaining about late-night comedians while simultaneously acting like he's not constantly watching them at 2 in the morning, like a divorced father stalking his ex-wife's Instagram because of his most recent outburst, a full-on meltdown that made Chernobyl seem like a lukewarm bowl of porridge. The irony is that Trump's entire character is essentially a late-night parody of a president who somehow managed to end up in the scenario room after leaving the writer's room. The punchlines in Colbert's satire are the only distinction. The punchline was Trump's presidency. That isn't political discourse. That is only paused natural selection, or the fact that Trump continues to claim he won an election even though he lost by more votes than the amount of times he has altered his position on windmills. Colbert is aware that Trump has never been good at reasoning. Denial is actually one of his strong points. Even that is beginning to appear flimsy.
This settlement is for a nuisance lawsuit Trump filed claiming that 60 Minutes deceptively edited their interview with then-candidate Kamala Harris last fall. Paramount knows they could have easily fought it because, in their own words, the lawsuit was completely without merit. And keep in mind, Paramount produced Transformers: Rise of the Beast. They know completely without merits.
Not to be forgotten is the occasion Trump attempted to purchase Greenland because, reportedly, someone told him that the real estate there was amazing possibilities, and he believed it to be a frozen golf course. Colbert could roast that for 10 years and still have some content for reruns. Furthermore, Trump is busy rolling up paper towels in anger at. If someone criticizes him, Colbert is out here, carefully analyzing the ridiculousness, using the accuracy of a surgeon and the diva from Broadway with a grudge. Trump is incapable of handling humor because needs awareness of oneself. It calls for acknowledging that perhaps, just perhaps, being president isn't synonymous with loudest man in the space with a ill-fitting tie and resentment against wind power. However, that duality is what Colbert feeds on. He transforms every Trump gaffe into a hilarious moment, every lie into a monologue, and every outburst into a lift to the ratings. And Trump detests it to the core. Furthermore, regardless of how many times you have defrauded a contractor, you cannot declare bankruptcy on those assets.
There is a tenuous ceasefire between Iran and Israel. What happened was around 6 p.m. last night, Donald Trump dropped this post. Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire officially. Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire.
Colbert disassembled rather than merely replied with. He made Trump a living symbol of remorse with each raised eyebrow, each joke, and each well-timed pause. To be honest, it's like seeing a goose attempt to outsmart a chess grandmaster with loud honking and no strategy at all when Trump tries to compete against Colbert. The best part, though, is that Trump stepped right into it. He always does, because he believes that political rallies and humor function similarly. If you scream loud enough, someone will applaud. Colbert, however, doesn't engage in that activity. He doesn't have to rile up the masses. All he has to do is raise an eyebrow, say something, and then Trump's left blinks, as if he's simply been informed that Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. Additionally, Colbert becomes sharper the more Trump spirals. He's the one who doesn't simply criticize the emperor for his lack of clothing. He creates an entire runway performance that makes fun of the emperor's hairpiece, spray tan, and deranged spelling. Do you recall Trump's attempt to outlaw TikTok? The entirety of Trump's persona is a living caricature of skill. Every weeknight, Colbert broadcasts the spoof in high definition to millions of viewers who are simply looking for someone to express what they are all thinking. This has become his full-time pastime. Is this the actual world, or are we stuck in a never-ending reality TV blooper reel?
No, he's right. The Epstein saga is a total snooze fest. I mean, the most powerful man in the world is blocking information about a cabal of the rich, the famous, and the royal, befriending a con man who regularly flies off in his private plane to his private island or do super illegal sex stuff. Then the con man is arrested. People are afraid he's going to name names, but before he can, he mysteriously dies right after being taken off a suicide watch in a federal prison during the administration of the guy who is blocking the release of the information. Boring.
Each time Trump snaps, It's like putting lighter. Colbert's fire fluid. Every time Trump posts about unjust late-night losers, you can practically hear the CBS producer sneering. Because you know you're doing something right when a man who once advocated injecting people with bleach labels you dangerous. Trump makes an effort to appear tough, but at a climate change summit, his skin is thinner than the ice. He is incapable of handling comedians, criticism, or being the target of a joke that doesn't receive applause from a sycophantic audience. Colbert, meantime, is the man calmly standing on stage and pointing out that the emperor is shouting at a lamppost regarding voters in addition to being nude. Deception. And nothing is worthy of an Emmy if that isn't. Do you recall Trump's position on forest fires? Scanning the woodland. That was his strategy. A man who believes that a leaf blower can be used to maintain the Earth's lungs. Colbert is more concerned with the truth than Trump is with his image. One uses fog machines and false tans to hide the truth. The other simultaneously makes you laugh and cry as it rips back the gibberish layer by layer like an onion of insanity. Most people cry when they laugh too much or when they realize that this man used to have nuclear codes. It also enrages Trump.
For years, before he was, reelected, and recently, since they all got into office, a bunch of high-ranking people in Trump's administration have kept promising to release the files surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, his mysterious clients, and his suspicious death. But now, suddenly, for reasons that I legally cannot think of, Donald Trump seems desperate to stop us from knowing who Jeffrey Epstein's clients were.
Since jokes spread more quickly than lawsuits, he is unable to silence comedians. He is unable to outsmart Colbert, as doing so would need reading more than a menu. Colbert's jokes garner more views than Trump's legal and stylish press conferences. So he can't even divert attention from the roast by boasting about crowd sizes anymore. Better yet, Colbert doesn't have to go overboard. He simply provides context for the ridiculousness and allows the listener fill in the rest. It's similar to watching someone gradually come to terms with the fact that their business mogul idol previously used wishful thinking and Sharpie pen to attempt to purchase a hurricane. You would believe that Colbert majored in political humor and minored in presidential clown studies, given how accurately he is now mocking Trump. Additionally, let's face it, there has never been a lack of content. Trump's social media app is failing more miserably than his gambling endeavors. His legal problems are piling up in a Mar-a-Lago freezer like expired Trump steaks. And yet, like a broken Roomba attempting to confront a mirror, he keeps charging into battle. Colbert simply relaxes with a monologue loaded and popcorn in hand, prepared to turn Trump's most recent misstep into a hilarious carnage. Trump desires authority. Colbert desires humor. Not to mention Trump's strategy of retaliating by issuing a press release that resembles a ransom note penned by a toddler who hasn't had enough sleep. Colbert's retort, meanwhile, consists of 5 minutes of incisive satire delivered with a smug smile that could power a Tesla.
Unlike the payoffs from ABC and Twitter, Paramount's settlement did not include an apology. Instead, that's good. Instead, the corporation released a statement where they said, "You may take our money, but you will never take our dignity. You may, however, purchase our dignity for the low price of $16 million. We need the cash."
You see, this is still not a fair fight. It's a massacre of dignity, of reason, and of budgets for hair gel. Trump is free to shout all he wants about his poor ratings and his incredibly unfair jokes. However, Colbert has already prevailed, with accuracy rather than volume, not with anger, but with mockery, with roasts instead of rallies. And Trump keeps returning for more, bless his overblown ego. Like a scammer to a courtroom or a moth to a flame, he provides him with additional ammunition, substance, and reasons to grab popcorn and watch every time he fights Colbert. Therefore, if Trump believed he could defeat a man whose job it is to make America laugh at the ridiculousness of politics, he should presumably focus on his strengths. Dodging subpoenas, losing lawsuits, and assuming that satire is fake news. Because Colbert is not merely playing chess in a verbal battle. He is performing 4D sarcasm on a stage late at night. At this point, Trump is still attempting to recall how the horse moves. so his pursuit of Colbert is akin to a flamingo confronting a wood chipper. It's colorful, strange, and ends with feathers all around. The man who once stood naked during a solar eclipse genuinely believed he could outwit the human representation of a mic drop and a Harvard degree. Trump's rebuttals resemble stale fortune cookies that have been read by a broken Furby. Colbert's retorts, on the other hand, come across as elegant as a Shakespearean jab wrapped in a roast beef sandwich.
Last week, Trump's press secretary said this.
I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks."
That would have been perfect for me, because we would have been on vacation next week and I wouldn't have known any of this was happening. Now I'm going to have to cancel my reservation at Sandals Fordo.
Additionally, Colbert's ratings rise each time Trump attacks obnoxious late-night men, similar to the thermostat at Mar-a-Lago during a convention that denies climate change. It is truly a gift. The only person who can lose a debate he initiated with a man carrying just a thesaurus and a tie clip is Trump. Colbert's desk, meanwhile, might pass for a throne, and a royal decree of hilarious doom in his address. Colbert would tweet from whatever social media bunker Trump is now hiding in for the next 5 years. Still make golden gold out of every typo, tantrum, and tantrum over a typo. It's not even Goliath versus David. Goliath inadvertently strikes his own face with his own club, and Colbert tells the story in iambic pentameter.